The story begins in the year 1825, during the time when the British ruled over Australia and inflicted brutal oppression on its native people. In Tasmania Island, the situation was no different. The British officers treated the locals like slaves, forcing them into hard labor. Among them, we meet a young woman named Claire, who had migrated from Ireland a few years ago and settled in Tasmania. She is married and has a little daughter. Claire works as a servant for the British colonial forces, along with her husband. Their commander is a man named Hawkins. One evening, Hawkins throws a party where several British soldiers are invited. Claire prepares food for them, and as she comes to serve, Hawkins asks her to sing in front of everyone, knowing she has a beautiful voice. Claire agrees and begins to sing, bringing smiles to the faces of the guests. But behind those smiles, Hawkins hides a dangerous desire. As soon as Claire finishes her song, he gestures her to follow him to a room. Once inside, he asks her to lock the door. When she does, Hawkins tries to get physically close to her. Claire refuses him firmly. Hawkins offers her freedom in exchange, but she simply pleads, "Let me go so I can live a new life with my family." Enraged by her rejection, Hawkins strikes her and forces himself on her. When Claire returns home, her husband notices bruises on her neck and asks her about them. Though she doesn't explain clearly, he senses something terrible has happened and becomes furious. Claire pleads with him to stay calm, fearing that confronting Hawkins would get them both killed. The next day, while Claire is serving food to a group of British officers, one of them touches her inappropriately. Her husband, watching this, loses his temper. Hawkins, sitting nearby, arrogantly dismisses the husband's plea for freedom, saying offensive things about Claire and claiming she belongs to him. Furious, Claire's husband attacks Hawkins, and a fight breaks out. Just then, Hawkins' senior officer walks in and calls Hawkins to his office. Disappointed by his behavior, the senior punishes Hawkins and his two fellow officers by transferring them to another town. Though Hawkins is reluctant, he has no choice but to obey. Later that night, filled with rage, he returns to Claire's home with his two friends. He finds Claire and her family packing to escape. Hawkins begins to beat her husband and abuses Claire once again. When her husband tries to fight back, Hawkins shoots him dead. Then, one of his friends also forces himself on Claire while her child keeps crying. In a horrifying moment, another officer silences the child forever. Afterward, they knock Claire unconscious and leave her alone in the house. When Claire wakes up the next morning, she finds the lifeless bodies of her husband and daughter. Her world is shattered, her family destroyed by the very people she was forced to serve. After the traumatic incident, Claire goes to the Royal Military Police to report what Hawkins and his men did to her and her family. She explains everything in detail, hoping for justice. But the officers don't take her seriously. Instead, they coldly inform her that Hawkins and his companions already left town the previous night. Heartbroken and helpless, Claire walks away. Now filled with sorrow and rage, she decides to take matters into her own hands and seek revenge. But there's one problem. She has no idea which route Hawkins took. Desperate, she turns to a local Aboriginal man named Billy, who knows the forest and its paths very well. Claire lies to him, saying that her husband has been taken hostage by Hawkins, and she needs his help to find them. Billy tells her that his uncle was taken by Hawkins as a guide just last night, and he knows where they might be heading. Thinking Claire is just another British settler, Billy demands payment and guarantees for his safety. Claire agrees and gives him some money. Their journey begins. Claire rides a horse, while Billy walks slowly beside her. She doesn't trust him and keeps her distance, fearing he might try something wrong. Meanwhile, we see Billy's uncle guiding Hawkins and his companions through the wilderness, followed by other men carrying supplies. Among them is a small boy who loses his way in the dense forest. As Claire and Billy move forward, they come across a horrifying sight, a burning house and bodies hanging from trees. The scene leaves them shaken. As they continue, a white man suddenly appears and points a gun at Billy. It's clear that white settlers still harbor deep hatred toward black natives. Terrified, Billy runs off. Claire scolds the man and firmly tells him, "He's my guide." She walks away, and soon Billy returns. Angry, Claire lashes out at him for leaving her behind. Billy stares back and says, "What will you do?" Kill me like the others. That's all your people have done to mine. Claire remains silent, then tells him to keep moving. As they travel deeper into the wilderness, Claire faces harsh challenges, bitten by insects, exhausted, and starving. During the journey, Billy spots footprints. He closely examines them and says, "There are 7 men. They went this way." Now they both pick up their pace, determined to catch up. In the heart of the forest, a tribal woman is seen walking alone with her little daughter. Suddenly, Hawkins and his men appear and capture her. The woman pleads with them, begging, "Please let me go, my child is all alone." But they show no trace of humanity. Ignoring her cries, they mistreat her and take her along as a captive. Meanwhile, Claire and Billy reach the edge of a river. The current is fierce and dangerous, but it's the shortest path to catch up with Hawkins. Claire decides to take the risk and enters the river with her horse. The current pulls her in, and she begins to drown. Billy immediately jumps in and manages to rescue her. That night, by the campfire, Billy shares a painful memory. His entire tribe was wiped out by British soldiers, right before his eyes when he was just a child. He had assumed Claire was British too, but she reveals that she's Irish, and like him, also a victim of British cruelty. This shared pain brings them closer, and a quiet friendship begins to grow. The next morning, some members of the tribe arrive searching for the captured woman. They attack one of Hawkins' men, leaving him injured. Enraged, Hawkins kills the woman. Fearful, the remaining tribespeople flee, and Hawkins quickly escapes with his remaining men. One of them, badly wounded, gets separated in the jungle. Later, Claire and Billy spot him. Claire approaches him and, without hesitation, kills him. It was one of the men responsible for her trauma. Billy, shocked and upset, questions her. "Weren't you just looking for your husband?" Claire, with tears in her eyes, tells him the truth. Hawkins and his men killed her entire family. She's not just searching, she's seeking justice. Billy starts to walk away, but Claire begs for his help. At first, he hesitates. Then she reminds him that the same people who destroyed her life also destroyed his. Moved by her words, Billy finally agrees to stand by her side. Hawkins soon realizes that one of his wounded men has gone missing. But instead of looking for him, he coldly decides to move on. He turns to Billy's uncle, who is serving as their guide, and orders him to lead the way to the nearest town. As they continue forward, Claire and Billy stumble upon the body of the tribal woman, her life cruelly taken by Hawkins. Nearby, they notice fresh footprints, a sign that Hawkins and his men had passed this way. They quietly begin tracking them. Elsewhere, Billy's uncle leads Hawkins and the others to the edge of a hill. There, he bravely confronts them, saying, "I'm not your slave. You've killed too many innocent people, and what you did to that woman was unforgivable." Enraged by his words, one of Hawkins' men shoots him. Hawkins, furious at the impulsive act, scolds his companion. Billy's uncle was the only one who could have safely led them out of the wild. Desperate, they force this companion to act as their guide, though he knows nothing of the path ahead. The next morning, Billy discovers his uncle's lifeless body. Overcome with sorrow, he performs his last rites with great respect. Standing beside the grave, he turns to Claire and says, "Now I, too, will take revenge on Hawkins." Both of them, driven by grief and rage, set out once again to bring justice. As they move deeper into the forest, they spot Hawkins near the foot of a hill. Billy urges Claire, "Now's your chance, take the shot." But the moment Claire sees Hawkins, she freezes, fear and pain clouding her aim. Hawkins notices them and fires first. The bullet grazes Claire's shoulder, and both she and Billy run for cover. Billy hides Claire behind a tree and dashes off to get their horse. But Hawkins spots him and captures him, forcing Billy to act as their new guide. Helpless for the moment, Billy agrees, while Claire remains hidden in the shadows, wounded yet determined. The next day, Billy leads Hawkins and his men to the main road leading into town. But Hawkins, cold and ruthless, hands a gun to a young boy who had lost his way and orders him to kill Billy. The boy hesitates, unsure of what to do, and in that moment, Billy escapes. Meanwhile, Claire stumbles her way onto the same road and finally reunites with Billy. Their joy is short-lived. As they move into town, they find a house abandoned. Everyone inside has been killed. They grab a weapon and continue on. Along the way, they witness British soldiers holding a group of black, tribal men hostage. One of the prisoners tells Billy he is the last survivor of their tribe. Billy is devastated. Suddenly, one prisoner cries out about the atrocities committed by the soldiers. But instead of stopping, the soldiers shoot all of them and keep their severed heads as trophies. They then turn on Billy, ready to kill him for being black. But Claire, seen as one of them, quickly acts. She points a gun at Billy and pretends to be on their side. "I'll handle this African," she says coldly. Believing her, the soldiers leave. Claire then saves Billy and leads him away. The next morning, Claire and Billy arrive in the new town where Hawkins has been transferred. Outside the police station, Claire spots him and follows him in. Hawkins, shocked and furious to see her, threatens her before storming off. Determined, Claire steps into a room full of British officers and courageously reveals all the horrific crimes Hawkins committed, including the murder of her family. Billy watches silently from a distance. Hawkins, enraged, slaps Claire and accuses her of lying. With no proof to defend herself, she leaves in tears. That night, while they camp in the forest, Billy, still grieving for his uncle, decides to take revenge. He dresses in traditional tribal attire and heads out to find Hawkins. When Claire realizes this, she follows him. Billy arrives at the bungalow where Hawkins and his companion are staying and kills Hawkins with a spear. But before he can escape, Hawkins' companion shoots him. Severely injured, Billy fights back and kills him too. These were the same men who had wronged Claire. She arrives just in time, and together, they ride off on horseback. As they reach a serene beach by sunrise, Billy dances with joy and sings, while Claire hums an Irish melody. Together, they gaze at the rising sun, finally at peace. So friends, what would you do if everything was taken from you? Your family, your identity, your voice? Would you give in to hatred or rise above it to reclaim your dignity and humanity? Let me know in the comments below what part of Claire and Billy's journey touched you the most. If this video moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And yes, hit the bell icon so you never miss our next emotional journey. See you in the next video. Until then, stay strong, stay kind, and remember, sometimes the path to justice begins with understanding.